Hi guys, as promised on my socials, I want to give you a quick overview of the Shaperbox bundle from Cableguys, who were so kind to send it to me. And I did test it, and I originally tried to test it in a way that I would go in blind and try out all the effects and record all that. Um, but it didn't go quite as smoothly as I wanted it to go because there's just so many features and it was a bit lengthy um, and it was a bit random at times also. So I've just decided to use a lot of things in a quick sketch and then show the drastic difference if I take the shaper box off. And I think that should give you a better idea of how the plugins work and if it's up your street at all or not, or if you use other plugins to have a similar effect. I think to have it all come as one plugin actually saves you a lot of time and a lot of other plugins you might need to buy. For example, as you see right here, um, these are all the bass patches, and they are made with current, quite simple basses. Current is the new synth from Minimal Audio, which I did help beta test, and there's some presets I made for it also, so you should check that synth out definitely, because it's a bit of a game changer. And yeah, I just made this simple sound. Let's listen to it with everything on. Short review of what I did. Yeah, and I just love to go through every sound and show you what basically happened to the sound. So obviously, what I did is sidechain everything. So I had a video on my Instagram about this. So you just basically click on Shaperbox here, enable, click inside here, and then you choose your snare trigger. And I prefer doing it with audio, but it works with MIDI as well. And if you have a snare that you're okay with, that's just like one sample or something, you can literally just take it. You don't have to make your own trigger for it, because there's this neat option where you can decide how many bars the whole section is gonna be. And you see it's on 1/2 a bar, and that's why it's that big. But you can literally change. You can have it go by faster and slower, and that's why you don't really need a trigger like with a sidechain compressor, because you can actually very precisely draw that in here. And yeah, so I just listen to it and maybe sometimes bounce out sidechained audio to see what spacing there is for the snare, and then play around with the settings on how fast it lets go of the signal again as well. So the sidechaining is very convenient. I did the same with a kick, and it's literally just a sample kicks, I think. Oh yeah, it's just a sample kick. Yeah. And yeah, let's just listen. The sidechain does the obvious sidechain ducking, so it won't change as much. The EQ is doing a little bit of automation here, which you could do in Shaperbox also, by the way, with the filter one. But I think it was just something I'm used to doing with FabFilter plugins. And yeah, this is how it sounds out of the box. And that's basically just a little 808 thing going on, like a a bit of basically no processing on it. Just these nice little neat effects in current, and the sub with some harmonics on, and pitch bend. Very simple. And then the first Shaperbox we added was a quite extensive one where I added a lot of the effects. So first is I just added some noise, and then I just saved this shape here down there, and then I used it to on the other parameters as well. I used that crush thing. It just adds a little bit of something in the highs, bit of phasey goodness. Don't know what happens. Yeah. That one makes it a bit phasey. And then I used the filter shaper a little bit, and that kind of changed shape a little bit, because in the beginning I didn't really know how to like make these shapes properly, but then it sounded really cool with that little wave in it, so I left the wave in. And then the distortion, which helps distort the noise. Play with the parameters like drive and push, chose the skew fold one, and yeah, basically copied that same thing again, and then I used the reverb. I love these kind of subtle reverbs that just add a little bit to the signal and make it a little bit more like an object sounding almost like an instrument. So I love that. And that was the biggest thing I added to it, I think. Then I went in with some more noise, I guess. Oh yeah, I went in with this weird sound, which you can find in the noise. They have like loads of different samples to use, similar to Devious Machine's texture. And this was like a muddy, squishy, watery sound. I liked it as a layer. And I guess I made it a little bit more stereo. Yeah, then I added the EQ to just add another filter movement. Make it a little bit more dynamic. And then I sidechained it. Yeah. Then I basically copied those settings and added a vocoder to it at the end to kind of get that squishy feeling. I love doing that with my bass layers, just to give you an extra type of layer that sounds kind of squishy and wet and organic. And then I used Shaperbox here actually to create a rhythm. And I choose an eighth rhythm, but shuffled it a little bit, so it becomes a 16th rhythm, but a shuffled one, which is why I chose these two shapes. And I like the shape slightly different. Like if you would play a real shaker, you wouldn't play it like, first of all, you wouldn't play it straight, and secondly, you wouldn't have the exact same hand movement probably. So that's what I'm kind of trying to emulate with that. And then again, the sidechain. On this bass, which sounds drastically different, but it has basically similar features: distortion, the skew fold again, some extra noise and width again, which I could have probably done the same preset, but like I said, I was just trying around with the plugin and wasn't super familiar with it yet, so I did what I could. And here I basically went in and changed a few parameters here, nothing on the effects, just basically played with the preset. And we can do a before and after again. Quite drastic, sounds like that. Sounds nothing like it. Turn the Shaperbox on. If that's not a drastic change in sound, and actually that is a way to do sound design also. You can basically put distortion and noise on the sound already and then do a preset and then see what huge changes in the sound, because sometimes making a simpler sound that you then build up into a more complex sounds with effects can really be cool. And like you hear here, it's the other sound is garbage and the other sound is kind of cool. Second one is like, come at me. And then there's like some more of this nice muddy noise. Then there's some EQ again, which I could do in Filter Shaper. And the sidechaining. And then there's this little sound. And that's just sidechain. That sounds like this. But that didn't change so much. It's just a simple FM bass in Serum, no effects. But Shaperbox makes it sound like something. Here also. And yeah, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff going on, some noise, some crushing, some drive, a volume shaper, filter shaper, and some light reverb. Yeah. And what is super cool about this is I used Shaperbox to make this rhythmic pad out of this vocal loop that I just chopped up. Chopped parts of it. So right now you're hearing the side chaining, but with the Shaperbox, I add a little bit of reverb and copied that same shuffled 16th rhythm. And yeah, it became a super cool element for the track that kind of drives it. And I did the same on the drums, where I basically took a noise sample, which I love doing. I sample noises out of synths or something like Devious Machines Texture, now probably Shaperbox, sample them out, the noise itself, as a soloed noise, and listen to it. If it's a clean noise like that, without the sidechain, it's literally just a noise. But with Shaperbox, it becomes a shaker. And it's a very subtle shaker, of course. But in this context, this kind of shaker really works. And the rest of the drums are basically just through together. And because they have the exact same rhythm, it works really well with this vocal thing. And there's also something coming up. Small little detail happening there. Yeah. And the shaker and the vocal together. See, like it kind of makes it almost sound like voice is a shaker also. And in context, it sounds like this. I think what would be fun would be just to do a very dramatic test. Just turn all the shaper boxes off and see what we're left with. I doubled the sidechain there. I don't know why I did that. But yeah, I think I just kind of had a little brain fart, which is fine. My computer can handle the CPU. And double sidechaining doesn't have a negative effect, at least my experience. Shaperbox, also on the drums. Oh yeah, with the reverb shaper, I added a little bit of build up in the drums as well, like a little bit of washing them out in this part here. As you see, the reverb sounds amazing also. So turn that off also. Turn off the Shaperbox on the Vox, turn it off on the shaker, and you're gonna be left with a mess of a track. But that's just to show how powerful this plugin is. So let's take a listen. Yeah, so that's that. And obviously now the levels are all wrong as well, because adding something like Shaperbox will drastically change the volume, because if you're using an LFO type plugin, you're gonna duck so much of the signal, and gonna take away so much of the signal basically, that you're gonna lose volume in a way. But that volume comes back if I take the plugins off. But yeah, sorry, that's a bit of a pain, I know. Turn it back on. I might have left that first Shaperbox on. Yeah, doesn't matter. You did hear the drastic difference. Now we listen once more. Let's turn something on here, I guess. Something didn't reset right, but yeah, doesn't matter. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And yeah, there's a massive sale on Black Friday if you want to get that. But there's many plugins to consider, obviously. But I think this one is really something that can change your workflow in a nice way. If you need a reverb, you just open a sidechain plugin and add a reverb or something, which you already have in your effects list. If you want to add a bit of crunch, a bit of distortion, you can just do that, right there when you're already using it anyway. It just is a nice option to have. And I'm really impressed with the product. And I'm going to use it in a lot of tracks, especially the reverb shaper, the noise, and the volume shaper, of course. I think I'm going to use this as my main sidechain plugin from now on, because it's just so convenient and it sounds really nice. So yeah, hope you like that review and have a great day. Peace out.